Hey guys, this is GamerTeah. We're back with some Going Medieval. Today they released some patch notes for Beta Branch that all of us have been kind of looking forward to, and today we're going to go over those. Now keep in mind this is kind of an extensive, long amount of patch notes, but we'll go over each one. But if you don't want to, I will drop the link in the description below where you can find this. Like I said, you will have to be on the experimental beta branch to access this patch. Alright, so update 0.5.31.0. Shelves and racks are here. We actually didn't plan for this update to come out so soon, but after seeing how many of you expressed interest in additional storage options, we simply had to. If you unlock Preserving Food, in the Research tab, you will be able to build shelves. Shelves can store 3 different piles of food, textile, or medicine. You can forbid the complete shelf, but also when using the right click, you'll have an individual option for piles inside the shelf. And the same rules apply to all the other shelves that we're looking at below. Unlocking furniture in Research will allow you to do bookshelves, wall bookshelves, and weapon racks. Bookshelves can store up to 4 piles of books, chronicles, textbooks, and theses. There we go. Wall bookshelves have the same function as regular, but they can store 3 piles. Bookshelves from older tapes will work properly, but they will disappear as empty. Okay, good to know. Weapon racks hold up to 3 different types of weapons and shield can be stacked on this rack. So maybe that 5 different qualities of weapons that are the same iron sword, maybe they'll stack now. But we'll see. We shall see. Unlocking Furniture 2 will unlock armor racks and chests. Armor rack can store armor and apparel. Awesome, so maybe we can pack all of our dang wonder clothes in there. Choose wisely since it can only store 1 head dedicated and 1 body dedicated. Okay, well we'll see what that actually means a little bit later. Chest. You can store up to 2 items from clothing and hats, armor, and or weapons. So it's a mix and match of the weapon rack and the armor rack. All shelves can be edited in the JSN files. That's what we've been doing a lot lately. So those players that want to play around with them feel free to do so. The type of storage is defined in the Furniture JSON file. See, look, they're making it so easy. It's like they were reading my guide and realized that people want to mod this game. That's awesome. So that's where you edit at. If you want to edit these new things, you'll go to here. And the content number of piles is defined in Universal Storage. Alright. Let's see. Stockpiles. Alright, stockpile priority. We added a drop-down menu on stockpiles and shelves. Sellers will be able to haul resources to the stockpile with the highest priority. This will not change the hauling priority, just the choice in stockpiles. Meaning settlers will always choose the higher priority stockpiles first. Additionally, settlers will move resources from lower to higher as time becomes available. This also includes shelves and racks. If a rack is set to a very high priority, settlers will constantly try to keep that rack completely stacked. Oh, well, that sounds like a bug waiting to happen, but we'll see. So basically, if we say we want all of the stuff priority on the right, and there's one on the left, when they're hauling stuff in, it'll go to the right. And then the stuff from the left will go to the right until it's completely stacked. That's better than it was. It used to be whatever was the closest one. Copy stockpile settings. Copying a stockpile with a copy of a button, like any other building, will now copy the stockpile setting as well. There are 2 buttons, copy and paste, for the player to be able to copy, obviously. Okay. You can also do it with stockpiles, shelves, and racks. However, their limitations will automatically dismiss piles that they can't support. Okay, obviously meat can't go into a bookshelf. Okay, I mean we could try, guys, we can try. But He says no. Okay. Map sizes. Map sizes. We opted out of adding large maps from previous experimental branch version. However, if you feel brave enough, you probably know how to edit the map size in the GSON file. We chose to set up the maps as following: 190 by 190, 220 by 220, and 250 by 250. The small was formerly the default. The reasoning behind this is that our settlers are not designed to operate in large areas. Setting them to one end of the map will make them starve while they try to come back with whatever they are carrying. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, so if you do 1,000 by 1,000, you'll probably starve if you drag somebody all the way out to the corner. Alright, there we go. This might change in the future, and we might start supporting even larger maps officially, but that would require some deep changes in settler behavior logic. Rock throwers receive some balancing. Trebuchets. See, I couldn't say the word, so we'll just go rock throwers. We've made several changes to make them more interesting, but still make them a bit threatening. Note, trebuchets from the old saves already spawn on the map and will not be affected by these changes. Now their projectiles will not pass through walls. If the projectile destroys an obstacle in the way, like a floor or something weak, it will pass through, but will cause much less damage afterwards. Trebuchets. Oh, catapults are rock throwers. Trebuchets are the... sorry guys, give 1 second. I have to go on a Google tangent. Please stand by. Trebuchet. Yeah, it is a rock thrower. I told you. Okay. There we go. Target random structures around the map before they target one point on the map and continue firing at that dot. Will now have an impact of 6 meters, represented by a red circle, so they're not very precise anymore. Fire rate has been slowed down. Enemies will deplete their ammo and then step out of the trebuchets to join the fight. We've also fixed an issue where trebuchets will not disappear after the raid if players saves files. Oh nice, so the enemies apparently could use trebuchets. Alright, more resource style pile optimization. Many of you reported an FPS drain mid to late game. It took us some time to investigate this, and we discovered that it's part of the FPS drain that causes by resource piles. Not present piles in the game, but rather how the game handles piles being spawned, counted, recounted, etc. The bigger the number of resources, the bigger memory leaks there were. The most significant FPS drop would come when trebuchets would hit a structure that a stack pile was on, and the piles having fall apart resulted in 1 FPS sometimes. There are some use cases that were affected by this issue. Allowing or forbidding large numbers of stockpiles would lead to FPS drop. Changing stockpile settings would sometimes result in stockpile being corrupt, resulting in settlers not wanting to carry resources to it, or carrying the wrong resource to the pile. Changing stockpile settings while settlers were carrying piles would result in FPS drop. Making a bunch of resources within a stockpile would result in a major FPS drop. Marking a bunch of resources, sorry. We have refactored the resource system, meaning that many of these issues were solved. This is something we feel we had to address before we started adding more systems and features. All in all, the performance should be much better now. We'd like to continue to optimize the game further into early access. Okay, that's a good start. If you load older saves, the save that had human carcasses, the game will spawn 1 bone pile instead of a carcass. Starting a new game and having a carcass will work fine. Continuing an older save and having a new carcass will work fine. Okay, weirdness. Temperature balancing. Although that was reported by many as a bug, it was really a balancing issue. The issue was that underground voxels would get off a negative heat and cool down the room. So when you dug down underneath and got closer to base level, the further down you went, the colder it would be. However, placing floors would isolate the cooling and make the room warmer. This is now solved by adding small cooling effect on floors. This does in turn make rooms cooler in the winter months, but that's something that will not make gameplay suffer. It can be mended by heating rooms by adding some heat sources. This is just a temporary solution and will most likely be revisited in the future. Nice. Improved room detection. In the case where one room was above another, stairs now create two separate rooms if there was no gap between these rooms. If there is only one missing floor tile between the rooms, it will still be considered as one room. Also, rooms are now generally easier to make due to them not having so many constraints. Prior to this update, kitchen would stop being considered kitchen if the player placed a campfire in the room. Oh nice, yep, that is absolutely true. This is not the case now. Also, text and overlay of rooms will not appear on every load notifying you what rooms are created. Okay, does that mean we can have a campfire back in the kitchen now? Okay, sorry. Other notable things worth mentioning. New settler tooltip. When a new settler appears, hovering over the info about that settler will not show all info. It will show just the highest skills and one random skill, as well as perks being blurred with a question mark over them. This is done intentionally so players can have a bit of a risk when choosing to let settlers come or not. New decorative buildings added Caballeras and stone fences. Caballeras can be used to illuminate darkness. So if you're a fan of candles, there you go. Stone fences have been added too because the community asked for it. Nice. Visual piles and rebalance. Piles, visuals, and rebalance. Many resources have different visual pile sizes that correlate to the number of resources in those piles. Oh, jeez. Example, limestone pile now has 3 versions. Was third full, 2/3 full, and full. So now small pile of rocks, and then large rocks. Okay. This visual change has been made to many piles, but not all. Other resources will get this treatment as we continue to update the game. Resource pile sizes have been doubled for almost all of the resources. This is due to players reporting having problems with too much limestone on mountain maps. This means piles will take up 50% less space. Okay, we'll just keep going. Flora and fauna. Plants no longer die once the temperature is below death threshold. Now they should slowly lose HP and die when it reaches 0. Red currants take 1 day longer to grow. Plants yield more food, except mushrooms, on a lower difficulty and less on a hard difficulty. New plants will spawn faster now, a bit faster on large maps and slower on small maps. New plants no longer spawn just near the same plants. There's a 30% chance they will spawn randomly, and this is to combat the problem where in the middle of the map becomes increasingly empty after a few years of playing, making all plants grow on the edges of the map. Animal spawns a bit faster. This will now regulated by difficulty, making the spawn faster on easy and very easy difficulty. Whew. Keyboard controls. Control scheme is now changed to be more in line with that players used to using other colony sims. We heard the feedback from the community they wanted Q and E to be rotating buildings and F to be used for allow forbid. Old saves won't work. We'll use the old scheme until settings controls and the menu change. This will not change your existing control scheme, but if you'd like to try it out, just reset the key bindings in the menu options. Quality of life, additions to the game. Jump to layer button. Oh nice, now we don't have to click down 16 levels. That might be sweet. We've also added a button to select panels that make you in the layer that's just an object is on. Okay, my brain just says no. Layer changing edits. Layers now have a flash effect on the numbers when changed. They have a small tooltip when holding control showing the layer that can be done with the layer control. A next settler button. Hit the tab. Piles are now hidden when looking at the layer underneath them. Alright. Almanacs edition. All resources now have a produced in links that take you to the production structures that make that resource. Okay, nice. That'll be a little bit easier to figure out what makes what. Photo mode camera update. Photo mode has a separate camera now and can be moved around more freely. For the more modders amongst you, this can be further modified from the alt camera settings.json. They're answering all the questions I usually have to answer. That's pretty awesome. Small changes in balancing. Smoked meat and pickled vegetables are now in the raw food group instead of meals. Oh, good. We added medicine group to the resource panel in all stockpiles. Nice. So we don't have to separate food and medicine when we're doing our resource stockpiles. When raid includes 4 more raiders, 20% of them will be archers. Okay. We've added trebuchets to the raid warning message. We've also solved an issue where enemies would leave the map halfway toward the player settlement. Settlers get hungry a bit slower than before. Slowers get tired a bit slower than before. The almanac has been updated. We've added a list of clickable hyperlinks to the resource entries leading into production structures so you can easily see where you can produce that resource. Whew. All icons are now selectable within the research panel, and they lead to the almanac entry so you can read more details about that being unlocked. Building traps now requires construction skill. Construction pricing and timing receives several tweaks. Lightning strikes will now damage roofs and walls properly. Terrain saving optimization. We've optimized how rooms calculate content isolation and other things, making room detection run much smoother. Graves now have snow on them in the winter. Spirits distillery now emits heat when producing. And then here comes the crashes, bugs, and issues fixes. Multiple hard-to-catch crashes have been fixed. Camera no longer stops moving when holding DNA at the same time and releasing one of them. Fixed the issue with the books magically rotting in closed rooms with floors. Awesome. Fixed an issue where settlers would refuse to haul to a certain stockpile or more. Fixed an issue that caused some production buildings to emit heat when the production was paused. Fixed an issue where gameplay keyboard would not work in the save menu. Fixed an issue that caused FPS to drop when enemies would arrive, but players would dig a moat around their settlement with no entry. Fixed a visual issue where loading a winter save could not render snow on the ground. Fixed an issue where production speed modifiers would change rapidly if a production building was out in the rain. Fixed several Fahrenheit issues. Fixed the issue that caused armor tooltips not to show during proper raiding. Fixed an issue where players would get corrupted save games and would not be able to load them anymore. Note, unfortunately the corrupted save games are still corrupted, so maybe don't use those. Delete them, let it go. It should not happen to save files going forward anymore. Should not. It's not something we can work off, but yeah. Fixed an issue where settlers would pick up 2 times piles of the same resource, and then the new pile they drop it in would have reset stats. The merge stacks take the middle value now. Oh man. Okay. Whew, that was a long one. We hope you enjoyed the experimenting with the new features and the content. Let us know if you come across any more bugs, issues, and once this vision has been stable enough, we plan to push it to the main branch and make this a proper update after all. Alright. That was a nice long-winded 19 minutes of this. But yeah, update 0.5.310.0 on the experimental branch of Going Medieval. This is GamerTeah. If you found this stuff useful, please hit the like button below and subscribe if you'd like to. Anyway, see you guys soon. Talk to you later.